This is the Pentax Zoom 105R. It's part of the Pentax SPO IQ Zoom series, although it's not actually branded as such. This camera is a 35mm point and shoot camera which was produced in 1991. So at the time I'm filming this, it is 30 years old. The first thing you notice about this camera when you pick it up is that it's really quite large. Without a film, but with batteries, it weighs about 550 grams, which makes it quite a substantial camera to hold, considering that you don't have that many controls over it. That said, let's have a little walk around and show you what the features of the camera are. The 105 in its name comes from the maximum focal length of the lens. If I turn the camera on, this switch here, I can control the length of the focal length with this rocker lever here. And as you can see, when I did that, it goes in steps. So 105, 90, 85, 75, 65, 60, 55, well 46, 38. So it's stepped, but also stepless. The little screen on the front shows me the things that I can operate. As it's set up at the moment, I can use the zoom function, and this indicator shows me the length of the focal length visually, as well as in a number. And the other thing, of course, I can use is the shutter release. As it's low light at the moment, and I've got the flash gun switched off, I'm going to have a problem with that one. Actually, for a point and shoot camera, it does come with quite a lot of features. The most noticeable is the lens. It's an f4 to f7.8 38 to 105 zoom lens, comprising of 11 elements in 9 groups. The camera can use DX coded film. So you can see the DX coding points here. And basically you just have to draw the film across and it winds to the first shot. Unlike most cameras of this nature, if you don't use DX coded film, bizarrely it sets the film at 25 ISO rather than the more normal 100. Autofocusing on this is an infrared system, and the shutter speeds range from 1/250th of a second to 1/3 of a second. There's a self-timer mode, allowing you to program in up to 5 frames on the self-timer. We've got built-in flash. There's double exposure modes, and there are various macro photography modes on here, which are quite interesting. This rather faded button here is to set the macro. The macro here is about 1.3 meters, which isn't terribly impressive. However, underneath this hatch here, if you press this button, it sets the macro at 45 centimeters to give a much closer macro feel to the camera. Other features of this camera include focus locking, the ability to rewind film halfway through or at any point. There are various flash modes, including disabling the flash altogether. There's a consecutive photo shooting mode and various bulb modes. Possibly the bulb one is a novel feature for a point and shoot camera, but a welcome one nonetheless. We have exposure compensation and multiple exposure shooting, or what we would normally know as bracketing. It is actually quite a beautiful machine. This one was produced in '91, as I said. It replaced the 105, and the only difference between the two is this switch on the bottom, which has got a red eye reduction flash system. Other than that, the two cameras are identical. Nice little feature at the top is an illuminated panel at the top, and which could be very useful in poor lighting conditions. And of course this has a data back to imprint information onto the film. It's a curious thing about camera collecting. If you were to put this up against an Olympus Trip 35, this would probably outperform it. However, an Olympus Trip 35 is a very collectible item, and this simply isn't. I've seen these for sale on auction sites for as little as £10 with no takers, whereas the Olympus, if you've been following these things, will fetch quite a lot of money considering its original retail price. Still, nice little camera. With an almost usable reach. Set it 75mm, and you've got the perfect length for portraits. So, nice little camera. The Pentax Zoom 105R.